How's it going, metalheads? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be reporting on some comment that Dave Evans of AC/DC, ex-AC/DC singer, made. Um, yeah, different kind of video today. I know a lot of metal creators will do reports on the news and their opinions and things like that, but I haven't really done it yet. So we're going to try something new, see what you guys think, see what I think of doing it. So let's get into it. If you don't know who Dave Evans is, he's the original singer of AC/DC. He was in the band for about 1 year from their formation in 1973 to mid 1974 when they kicked him out. And he sang on one single, their debut single. Over the last couple of years, he's made headlines a few times for stupid comments, stuff like that. But this one's especially ignorant, and I think that we can all have a good laugh over it. Um, let's get into it. He was doing an interview with Mexico's Rock 111. He was asked about the current state of rock music and why it's not the top selling genre today. And he makes a pretty good valid point about that, about how there's hasn't been really any new big rock bands. There's really only old ones, and people are kind of, tired, or they don't put out any good music because of the fact that their old music is so good. So yeah, that's not a terrible take. But then he says rock and roll is an attitude, a real attitude, not a pretend one. Metal is a pretend attitude. They get up there and go rah 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 rah. It's bullshit. They get up there and paint their face and yeah, and then they go home to their mamas. Mama, what's for dinner? But rock and roll is real. Um, so I'll just let that sink in for a second. I think a lot of us have a lot of opinions about that, but my first one is: do rock and roll musicians not go home to let their mom cook them dinner? Like, I'm pretty sure that rock musicians would also like the meal cooked by their mom. But anyway, what else is wrong with that is he doesn't explain what a rock and roll attitude means or why it's a real attitude and what an attitude in terms of music is and why metal is pretend one. How I interpret it is that he means like stage presence. Like metal is just showing for stage, whereas rock and roll you get to see an authentic person, which is kind of interesting because if you are performing on stage, you're a performer, so you're supposed to be performing a show for the audience. So you don't necessarily have to put your authentic self out there. So I thought it was interesting that he would say that. That's how I interpreted it. He didn't explain it, like I said, so you can form your own assumptions about it. Either way, calling an entire genre, or at least the stage presence, I guess, of an entire genre of music, pretend is kind of bold, um, especially for someone who doesn't really have that much of a social uh, presence to stand on. As I said, he got kicked out of AC/DC very early on in their career and didn't really do anything afterwards. So what I'm saying with that is nobody really gives a fuck about what he thinks, or at least I don't think I do. I'm only doing it for this video. I'm gonna forget about it afterwards, and I think everybody who wrote these articles just did it to report. Um, so yeah, part of me thinks he just makes these comments to get his 5 minutes of fame, but whatever. Uh, as I said earlier, this is not the first stupid comment he's made. Last year he made headlines because he was asked who was the best AC/DC singer. If you don't know, he was the original, and then there was Bon Scott, who I think sang on 7 albums before his death in 1980. And then Brian Johnson was recruited after him, and he has been the vocalist ever since. So Dave Evans only sang on the debut single. So there's three of them, and he said he was the best. Um, he states, if you're an AC/DC fan, you must embrace the whole band because, first of all, there was the 5 founding members, and I'm one of them. If you're biased against one or the other, then you're not really an AC/DC fan. If you're a Bon Scott AC/DC fan or a Brian Johnson AC/DC fan, you're a fan of part of the band, which is kind of true, although I challenge you to find an AC/DC fan who dislikes Bon Scott albums or Brian Johnson albums more. I'm pretty sure most fans love them equally. Um, I get what he says about the founding members. That's true. Without him, AC/DC would be different. But he also didn't sing on any albums or anything, and they kicked him out and achieved way better success with Bon Scott. Um, and to put that in perspective, there was an interview that was released with Malcolm Young before his death, where he talks about how Bon Scott fit in with the group. Um, It said he pushed us a little further. The first singer, Dave Evans, people cheered when he left so we could jam. He was so bad. Bon was in a week later. He had songs, ideas, and motivation. He's serious. We were happy to be with someone like that. We were just happy to be playing. He had bigger plans. So to me, what it sounds like is Dave Evans didn't have any ambition, and he was just playing. And Bon Scott came in and pushed them to be better, and that's why they achieved bigger success with him than they did with Dave Evans. Because Dave Evans was in the band for almost a year. And with when Bon Scott, by the time he was in the band for a year, pretty sure they had an album out already. So that says a lot to get a record deal and stuff in a year versus just nothing in a year. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Like I said, he doesn't really have any presence to stand on here with this. He just does it for attention. Um, if you don't know his other stuff, after he got kicked out of AC/DC, he went on to join the band Rabbit, who were active in the 80s for a few years. And then he kind of fell off the map till the 2000s when he started a solo career. Although, let's be honest, who listens to solo careers anymore? So, like I said, not very famous other than AC/DC. So he got his 5 minutes of fame, and I think he really wants to revive that. And I think that's why he does stuff like this. Either that or he's just ignorant. But either way, we can all have a good laugh over it. So yeah, as Metal Sucks here puts it, AC/DC's original singer Dave Evans says we're all posers. So yeah, guys, we're posers. Breaking news. Metals pretend. Go figure. So yeah, that's gonna do it on that. Let me know what you guys think. Speaking of AC/DC, I don't know if you guys saw my short, but I will be at AC/DC this weekend in Vegas. That's going to be a fun time. I will do a concert review after I get back on Sunday, probably. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for all the support lately. Yeah, have a nice day. See you guys later.